surrounded. I am surrounded. What do I do? I'm screwed. Oh, hell. Oh, I never thought I'd live to see the day. I never thought I would do this. I never thought that I would ever drag a Swift trailer behind me. Ooh, let's do it. I hope it's not cursed. Probably should just drive her into a ditch and put it out of its misery. Well, but yes, as some of you probably are wondering, why the hell am I pulling a Swift trailer? I don't know. No, it's, you know, a power-only load. It's empty. It's paying for my fuel and then some to try to get me back up by the house. This trailer is actually going to, it picked up in Dallas and it's going to Mobile, Alabama. It's funny, but the money that I'm being paid, even though it's completely not in the direction of my house, the money that it's paying me will, you know, pay for the fuel I need to go to Mobile and up to my house. If I can't find another power only load out of there, I'll still have fuel in the tanks to get home, and I'll make a profit. So the funny thing is, I'm making like almost twice what a actual Swift owner operator would make pulling a load, and I'm pulling one of their empty trailers. You're feeling rest easy now. I will no longer have a Swift trailer on the back of my truck. We made it here safely. Not bad. Well, I spoke too soon about the whole Swift deal. Swift cursed me. I should not have pulled a Swift trailer. I should not have pulled a Swift trailer.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
My starter went out. Completely fried. Completely locked up. My starter is gone. Luckily, it happened at a dealer because I thought it was the clutch switch. So I came to the dealer and I replaced the clutch switch on my own. Cheap part, 57 bucks. That wasn't it. Shut the engine off to replace the clutch switch, and then it wouldn't turn back on. Thankfully, I was at a dealership, but the bad part is it took them all day to tell me that it was going to be Monday before they could get to it. Here's a little lesson in owner op and being an owner op. Look at that Freightliner back there. Freightliner Coronado. That blue one right there, that thing is gorgeous. Let's talk a little bit about it, shall we? What happened was, I was getting fuel yesterday, last night, and the truck wouldn't start back up. You know, just a click, 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 doing the whole pygmy language. Luckily, though, the truck stop I was at where I got fuel, I was facing downhill. And I put it in 4th gear, and I jumped it by letting it roll forward, right? You know, I got it running, came down here to the dealership, waited till they opened, left the truck run. You know, opened the gates, I went inside, got the clutch switch, came out here, put it on, and then the truck wouldn't start. It was out of the way, the truck was, so they left it there until they could find someone to come out and look at it. Finally, at the end of the day, they brought someone out to look at it, and they did the whole bypass thing. They hooked the, you know, they jumped the starter itself by, you know, basically hooking it up to the alternator and then pushing that little button and, you know, trying to start it directly that way. Bypasses a whole bunch of stuff. Well, it still just clicked. So that told them that the starter itself was just fried. The starter was all bound up. It wouldn't even spin. You know, they put 12 volts to it, and it wouldn't even spin the starter. Then they told me, well, it's going to be Monday before they can get to it. Now, here's the catch. Here's where you got to think about it. You know, me being a new owner-operator, it's one of those tests, you know, trial by fire. They said they could look at it on Monday. Well, this part's under warranty. The starter is still under warranty on this truck. It's still under warranty for another 40,000 miles. But if they can't look at it till Monday, it's Friday now. So that's hotel costs. You know, that's maybe staying in a hotel for at least 2 nights, maybe 3 nights. You know, so you're talking maybe $400 for a hotel. And then whatever, you know, downtime. So, you know, I could be running today, you know, tomorrow and Sunday and Monday. You know, you're talking about $1,800 of revenue, you know, when you factor in everything, you know, your insurance, everything, all your weekly bills, when you break them down by the day and you factor all that stuff in, and, you know, the rates that I could be getting, you're talking $1,800 to $2,000 a day that you're down, that you're out. So say I'm out for 3 days, not including the hotel costs, there's close to $6,000 that I've just lost in revenue. So then when you think about it, it's not worth waiting around for just because it's warranty work, in my opinion. So what I did was I bought the starter from the dealership for $460. Seems kind of high for the starter. I've seen them for about $350, but I bought the starter for about $460. Then they had to pull my truck out, which means they had to tie up one of their men. So I had to pay them the minimal shop fee rate, which was $150. So $150 plus, you know, the $480 for the part. So now we're talking a little over $600. And then I had to call somebody else because they can't let somebody else from an outside business work on their property, so they had to tow it out behind their fence. So I had called somebody else that they recommended, and he's coming down, and I made sure he could, you know, do the starter on the side of the road here. And, you know, honestly, I might be able to do the starter myself, but I really just don't want to mess around with it. I just want to have someone do it that has done it before and can do it as fast as they can. I mean, I've done starters on cars, but this starter looks like it's a bitch to get to. So anyway, I called somebody, and he's on his way down here right now, and it's a 2-hour minimum fee because it's technically a roadside call. So we're at right around $900 for a new starter. Yes, that sounds like a lot of money, and yes, I'd save that if I had the warranty, if I put it under the warranty, but I would also be spending, you know, $400 in a hotel, and I'd be losing close to $6,000 in revenue if I waited around. So it's kind of one of those, kind of a trick question. What do you do as a new owner operator? Do you forfeit the warranty work and just pay for it out of pocket? Or do you sit and waste a whole lot of money that you don't technically see, but you know you could be making? So that's what I'm doing. I'm paying for the part. It might be a gamble, but I'm paying for the part, and the guy's going to come out and put it on. So the starter was definitely bad. So let's hope this is what fixes it. Okay, so just a little bit of a recap as to what happened. Got the starter in. Truck's doing fine now. See, here's what I don't know what I don't know what happened exactly. One of my earlier videos this week, I said that I thought that I had maybe fried the switch when I put the clutch switch when I put the inverter in, because when I installed the inverter, I had like a pretty large arc when I connected the positive or the hot wire to the positive terminal, and right after that happened, the truck didn't start. Now, I didn't try to start the truck before that day, so I don't know if it was just a coincidence or if I fried the starter itself, because like I said, it didn't work that day. But then I thought maybe it was the clutch switch, so that's when I bypassed the clutch switch, and it started. When I bypassed the clutch switch, it started. So I don't know if it was just a really big weird coincidence that it just happened to just start at that time when I bypassed it, because after that, I plugged it back in so I could have cruise control and stuff like that, because with the clutch switch, for anybody that doesn't know, if you're ever having an issue with turning or with setting your cruise, not turning on your cruise, you can still turn your cruise on, but if you have a problem with setting your cruise, or if you have a problem with the engine brake, check the clutch switch. You might need to replace that switch. So anyway, I wanted to have the cruise control, so I plugged it back in, and I figured, well, if I can bypass it, whatever, I'll just go ahead and see if it'll start. Well, it started with it plugged in. So, so I don't know, maybe there was still a little life left in the starter, and I don't know. Just like I said, just very coincidental, circumstances. And it worked for me like that all week. It started up all week just fine. Press the clutch in, start the truck beautifully. And then I did notice it make kind of a weird sound when I started it a couple days ago. And I thought, well, maybe I was just hearing things. It wasn't like a grinding sound like you would expect out of a starter that might slip or something, but it just made kind of a clanky noise. But it started, But anyways, like I said, I was getting the fuel last night at a Flying J, and I shut it off to go inside to get my receipt, and it wouldn't start when I came back out. But luckily I was on a downhill, so I put it in fourth and I jumped it that way. I just popped the clutch. So I get to the dealership, put in the new switch, thinking that was going to be it, even though I tried to bypass it again, but even when I bypassed it this time, it didn't start. But I still thought maybe it was the switch, optimistically. Put the new switch in, and then I turned off the engine, and then, thought to myself, okay, hope this is it. Tried to turn the engine back on, nothing. Just wouldn't start. I was getting that ominous click, when you turn the key. And I knew the switch had to be doing something. The new switch had to be doing something. And maybe the old switch is still good, so I'm going to keep that around as a spare. But maybe it was the starter the entire time. But I would, if I didn't push the clutch in and I turned the key, then I heard nothing. There was no click. But then when I pushed the clutch in, when I had to press the clutch and turn the key, you heard a click, 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 So the switch was doing its job. I checked every relay between here and there that I could think of. Everything was fine. The terminals were, perfectly fine. Zero corrosion, zero looseness. They were all tight. So the only logical solution was it had to be the solenoid or the starter itself. And, of course, the solenoid is part of the starter. But I couldn't get anybody to go out there and look at the truck. And, they were pretty busy, and they kept telling me, well, it'll probably be about an hour, someone will, bring it in. 2 hours later, I go back down. Oh, it'll probably be in a couple hours. Okay, well, finally I go down there about 4 o'clock. And they're like, well, it's probably going to be Monday before they get. I'm like, Monday? But you're open tomorrow until 9. And they said, yeah, but the diagnostic team people aren't going to be in until Monday. And so I said, well, I said, but I'm, where I stood, I was 95% certain that it was the starter. And I was like, look, is there any way somebody can just go out there and jump it for me? Just jump the starter so I can get the truck cranking over and started. And I'll just take it to a TA and get the starter replaced there, and I'll just pay cash if they won't honor the warranty. I'll just pay cash for it, and that way I'm not sitting, because I figured I could go to the TA and get a new starter put in, for $700 or so. And that would be way more beneficial than sitting somewhere accruing or accumulating hotel room cost and food cost and all that stuff, for at least 3 days. And then not to mention the lost revenue, which I was being very, very optimistic when I was saying, $2,000 a day revenue. That's, I would say more realistically, more like $1,500 a day. But I've read somewhere that when you factor in everything, you're looking at like $2,300 a day lost revenue. Like that includes truck payment, that includes insurance payment, that includes trailer payment, that includes everything wrapped into one, not just the rate that you're going to get. So I'm thinking to myself, man, if I sit for 3 days just to get it diagnosed, because it's Friday, so it'd be Monday before they could even start to diagnose it. And for warranty work, they have to go through a lot of diagnostics because the dealerships don't want to just give you the part. They're going to do whatever they can to keep from having to give you a free part. I did not want to sit here until what would probably even end up being Tuesday and lose all of that revenue. Plus, I'm still bobtail, so I'd still have to drive 600 miles to my house to get the trailer. So that's a whole nother day right there, which I can PC that, but that's still a 9.5 hours of driving right there. Yeah, it'd be like Wednesday, before, if I'm lucky, it'd be like Wednesday before I could even get hooked up to my trailer and book a load. And I'm like, man, it's a lot of lost revenue. So they said, well, okay, here's what we can do for you. And I'm not talking bad on Birmingham. It was Birmingham Freightliner, and I'm not talking bad on them because I know they were busy, and they had their things to do. I understand that, but we all have our jobs to do, and we all have our own butts to cover. And they were like, well, look, here's what we can do. We can go ahead, we can sell you because I'm skipping a step. I told them, I said, look, just jump the truck for me in some way, shape, or form. Go directly to the starter and get that thing started for me, and I'll pay you whatever I got to pay you to go out and do that, and I'll just take it to the TA and just get the starter on. And because there was a TA about 30 miles up the road, and so they sent a guy out there and they put one of those little mechanisms on there that basically bypassed everything except for the starter. And then you hook it up and you push a little button, like a little solenoid button, and then it directly shoots 12 volts of power to the starter. And when he did that, it just clicked, just like it did when I turned the key. And so that right there was the telltale sign that it was obviously a frozen or a seized up starter. And I'm like, man, I don't want to sit around here until whatever day just to have them spend a whole day diagnosing what is obviously a bad starter. So, I went inside there and I'm like, look, is there anything you can do? I mean, I'll pay a premium if you can just go out there. I'll pay for the starter. Just go out there, put the new starter on for me. I know your guys are tied up right now, but I know this is also a relatively simple job. I mean, it's straightforward. I'll be honest, I'm too fat to get to that starter because you got to go under the truck, under the skirt, the side steps and everything. And it would have been super hard for me because of how fat I am. I realize that. I'm not I'm not completely oblivious to that. So anyway, they were like, well, here's what we can do. We can sell you the starter, and then you can call somebody that can come on down here. We'll pull your truck with a forklift. We'll tow your truck outside of the property, just outside of the gates, but still in the driveway, because for insurance reasons, they can't have anybody, and they can't have an outside vendor work on a truck on their property. So, they're like, we'll tow the truck out there, but you're going to be tying up one of my guys to tow the truck out there, so we have to charge you at least an hour's worth of shop time fee to do that. So it's $150 an hour. So they had to charge me $150 an hour, or $150 just to tow my truck 80 yards outside of the property. But I'm like, okay, yeah, well, just do what you got to do, And then I called somebody, and they came down and they put the new starter in, and I was gone, So that's what I had to do. I felt like that's what I had to do. I mean, it started right up. I tried it twice when the guy put the new starter on. Started up beautifully, instantly. But I still have that initial fear, like, man, if I shut the truck off, will it start again? Cost me $1,000. That's what it cost. It was altogether about $1,000. Now I got the core charge back for the old starter, which was about $180 is what the core was. So I got $180 back. So the whole thing was total of about $800. That's what it cost me. It was about $800. But when you compare that to at least $400 in hotel costs, at least, we'll say $100 in food, and then, at least we'll even really be conservative, and we'll say $1,000 a day of lost revenue. So, there's 3,000, there's 34. You're talking almost $4,000 if you're speaking severely conservatively. $4,000 of lost wages versus $1,000 of just paying it out of your pocket, and that's what I did. I paid it out of my pocket instead of waiting for the warranty to do its thing. And I still have 40,000 miles left on that particular warranty, so whatever. So that's just what I did, guys. I feel like that's what I had to do. If anybody wants to say that was the stupid idea, I don't know. I'm game. Say what you want to say, but that's just one of those things. I feel like as an owner operator, you have to make a tough decision like that, and it hurts to. That was the first big bill I've had that was unplanned, and it hurts to fork out that kind of money because you see that money. Even if you're paying with a credit card, you see it. You see that you're paying that, but when you're just losing revenue, you don't necessarily see it because it's just money. It's money you didn't have to begin with, but you have to think about what it could have been and what you could have made if the truck was running. So, just got to make those decisions, man. Sometimes you just got to make them. You got to be the boss, right? You got to be the boss and just make those decisions. So, anyways, with that said, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get off here. I'm gonna get a little bit of sleep. This day was super stressful, man. And even though I didn't really do anything today, I'm tired. But I definitely liked Birmingham Freightliner. They were good people. One thing I liked about it was they had a shower. So I was actually able to take a shower while I sat there and waited. So that was good. But I needed a shower, man. But yeah, so I got nothing against Birmingham. They did what they could. Birmingham Freightliner. They did everything they could. They got their jobs to do. I got my jobs to do. So I have nothing against them. For not getting my truck in there. Like in what I felt like should have been a timely manner. But anyway, y'all have a good one out there. Be safe. Make some money. And again, stay safe, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.